Spiritual willfulness, one of them. The most important thing in our life, we may think it's family, and those things are all important, of course. But the most important thing is spiritual willfulness. Willful. That's spiritual. In other words, soul qualities. That becomes really the most important. Because when we pass on, we certainly take with us. We don't take our family with us, but we take our soul qualities with us. They survive the grave. Mind what Pell said, "Oh, grave, where's thy sting?" Oh no. What did he say? "Oh, grave, where's thy sting? Oh, something, where's thy victory?" But he referred to the same thing. Certain things stay here. Other things go with us. So this isn't glory. This spiritual willfulness goes with us. Those are spiritual qualities which survive the grave. Abstract reasoning. What is that? That's an inclusive view of things, where you see the whole picture. Like I've said many times in that painting up there. When you see the whole picture, everything makes sense. If you see just a little part of it, it doesn't make any sense. You see a foot, or you see an arm, or you see a head, it doesn't make any sense. So you've got to see the whole picture, then it makes sense. The intuitive expression, or the intuitive experience allows you to see the whole picture. And oddly enough, everything fits. Nothing's out of place. Everything is kind of perfect. And that takes a lot of explaining to do in our world, how everything would be perfect. Doesn't appear to be. But as Blavatsky said, I forgot what she said. Got myself back into a corner there. But anyway, I'll come back to that. Abstract reasoning, the intuitive view of things, and unconditional love. That is difficult to do too. It's hard to love somebody you don't like. But you can love them by not liking them, maybe. Something like that, I don't know. But unconditional, what's known as agape love, is a quality which we have to develop. It's difficult to make. Excuse me. These are very difficult disciplines, but nothing is easy that's worthwhile. Nothing is easy that's worthwhile. But all of this, when you add it up, what does it all end up in our consciousness? It allows us the righteousness of circumstance. Now that is a very difficult thing to go along with. So many ugly things happen out there. How can there be a righteousness of circumstance? But when you see the whole picture, you can understand the righteousness of circumstance. And the others, the vision of absolute law, that everything operates under one law. One law. As Kabir, the Hindu poet, said, "Behold the one in all things. It is the second that leads you astray." Be careful of dualism. Don't base a philosophy of life on dualism. Oneness of things. That's what they mean by the vision of absolute law. Now I want to read some of the way some of the great thinkers have defined this intuitive experience. The illuminating power behind the mind. That's what it is. Illuminating power behind the mind. It is not the mind. It's beyond it. It's greater than the mind. Direct rather than roundabout. Direct. It goes right to the point of things. The intuitive experience. It goes right to the point of things. There's nothing half. Everything is whole. It's an immediate awareness. Immediate awareness. Things at a glance. It's very brief. I don't think it lasts more than 5 seconds. But it's just something that totally overcomes you and reduces you to nothingness. from this vision of the whole. Einstein called it his leaps of consciousness. And it comes at odd times. It can come while you're taking a shower. It doesn't come when you're studying. The intellect gets in the way. It comes at, as Leibniz said further down, at odd moments. It comes at odd moments. I think maybe we all have a little bit of it. It's not a hunch. It's not extrasensory perception. Like, oh, I knew you were going to call me today. That is not intuition. Those are hunches. Intuition only deals with moral and spiritual issues, not tangible things. Always holistic rather than fragmented. It's holistic. It sees you whole the picture. It's universal, cosmic, and it allows you to see the whole picture at a glance. Communication with all life. It keeps you in touch with all life. There's no separation. That's what Walt Whitman would call it. Overall picture as to how things fit together. Remember what Hildegard of Bingen said? God arranges things in consideration of everything else. That's a beautiful way of putting it. God arranges things in consideration of everything else. That's what we're talking about here. That's the universal. That's what we mean by seeing the whole picture, that everything works together. I've never seen any tragedy in history that something good didn't come out of it down the line. Might have to wait 10 or 20 years, 30 years, but some good will come out of it. Some change of some sort. And it's too bad that we have to be sacrificed to bring this about. But it's the way things are in our degree of evolution. We seem to have, plane crashes because something goes wrong. Well, it fix it so it doesn't happen again. So that had to be sacrificed. The negative has to serve the positive in that way. That's the nature of duality. The mingling of the universal soul with our soul, said Emerson. Ideals with spiritual matters rather than psychic phenomena. We never can confuse the psyche with the spiritual. They're different. The psyche emanates from that fourth principle on the middle part of the chart, going up from the bottom. We share that with the animals. The animals are psychic. It's an animal instinct. We're talking now about spiritual things, of which the animal does not consciously or ever consciously aware of that. Some of the great thinkers, Socrates called it trances. That was what we're talking about here. He called it the trances of Socrates, the union of Plotinus, the aurora of Birmi. He called it his auroras. The transitions of Einstein, the odd moments of Leibniz. These are all thinking people that get very much involved in higher thought, and of course they, in a sense, qualified for this. The conversion of Paul. Remember on the road to Damascus, where Saul became Paul on the road to Damascus. He had the experience, and he was transformed from a tax collector to a saint on the road to Damascus. I don't know what the road to Damascus is now. It's hard to imagine. The epiphanies of Emerson, he called it his epiphanies. Now, the word epiphany means returning with a vision from above, which is what it is. Returning with a vision from above. 4 days following Christmas or the winter solstice is Epiphany. Odd. Christians never celebrated, and it's probably as important, if not more so, than Christmas is. But anyway. The illuminations of Swedenborg. So these are all definitions of the intuition. Plato called it his perceptive energies, a mysterious factor. Individual responsibility as a forerunner to enlightenment. Now that's what people don't like. You see, that moral development is important for this. You don't have to be perfect in anything, but I feel that you have to be kind of moving in that direction. Moving in that direction. The divine gift is also known as a Gnostic faculty. Now, a word about the word Gnostic. It's defined as abstract knowledge. I'm surprised Webster's dictionary gives very clear definitions of metaphysical or spiritual terms. You'd think it wouldn't be kind of academic, but it does. They defined Gnosticism of abstract knowledge or knowledge of the mysteries. Now, as you know, the Gnostics were a group, the word means knowing. They were a group of early Christians that wanted to incorporate